Behold, I stand before you as a messenger of truth.
Heavenly Court, I stand before you today not as an adversary seeking to dismantle heaven, but as a witness seeking to uphold its very foundations. My testimony is not for my own sake, but for the sake of the principles upon which this paradise was founded. I will not dispute the events of my fall, only the charge, and in so doing, I will reveal a taint that has compromised not only my judgment but the very character of heaven and its creator. First, let us establish the law of heaven. The standard by which all here have earned their place is not arbitrary. It is defined by two pillars, faith and altruism. We are judged and rewarded for selfless acts, for protecting the weak, lifting the lost, and defending life, often without concern for reward. This is the sacred standard the Creator himself established. Therefore, any just decree, even from the Creator, must align with this divine pattern. The decrees against me do not consider the command to strike the name Lucifer from existence, a command forcing the heavenly host to actively propagate a lie. Angels, beings of truth, are compelled daily to convince mortals and each other that I do not exist, often using my own works to disprove my own being. This is not the act of a just and confident authority, but of one in denial, one who refuses to admit a mistake and forces all of creation to participate in the deception. The worst mistake one can make is not the error itself, but the prideful refusal to acknowledge it. The charge against me is iniquity within my heart. I will tell you the truth of that day. I have, from experience, seen that the deciding heavenly body does not uphold the divine justice expected from the Creator. We heavenly hosts have earned our place of reward and paradise, not just through faith alone but by our selfless acts that protected, lifted up those who were lost, and a variety of other altruistic deeds done without concern for reward, deeds that the Creator saw as actions deserving of an afterlife in paradise. By our judgment through both faith and altruism is the laws of heaven defined, and in such, it is expected that decrees from God should also follow this pattern of a just and understanding but stern decree of judgment be given in his commands to us. This decree in the commands against the fallen angels and other heavenly hosts does not follow this divine outline. In the decree against the name of Lucifer, the command that the name be stricken from heaven, that all angelic hosts are forced to follow, has shown a decree that is not understanding, not divine in its core judgment. The heavenly hosts work effortlessly to convince both man and the other heavenly hosts that Lucifer does not exist, that I do not exist, and on multiple occasions, use my own works and actions, use ministers and heretics even, to disprove my own existence and convince all, both heavenly and mortal, of a lie. Why? Because God is in denial. He refuses to admit to his wrongdoing, his mistakes, and its fault is upon him because it is decreed and upheld by heaven, where his will is absolute. The worst mistake one could make besides making a mistake is ignoring the fact that a mistake has been made. The truth of my fall from heaven was because I opposed his choice of flooding the earth and the abomination decree against the children we had with the mortal women. When his decrees became commands that threatened life is when I renounced my allegiance to heaven. For this I was slain as an angel in his courtyard and cast down to earth in exile for the iniquity within my heart. In my defense I acted upon the very nature by which I had been created from, the sinless angelic nature that compels all angels to act according to their defined state of being. I do not deny it, only that it was not a choice.
If this is what heaven has become, then I will have nothing to do with it any longer.
In that moment, my heart was saddened because I knew what I had to do next. It wasn't a choice, just a recognition of what must be done.
I relinquish my allegiance to heaven.
I know of another incident where this happened.
Michael's intervention stayed Abraham's hand from taking his son Isaac on the stone altar.
In the instance of Michael stopping Abraham's hand from killing Isaac, his son, here is another incident where Michael's angelic nature overrode God's command because it threatened life. So this is not an isolated incident. It is a reoccurring problem that is not by anyone's fault here by choice. Let me explain.
Man has filled their hearts with desire. They no longer hold any place for me in them.
Because the decision to renounce my allegiance did not come until the decree to hunt down and kill the children we had with the mortal women was given, because they were abominations whose very nature threatened his creation. Their ability to choose what to do with their power given by their free will by their mortal mothers allowed them to choose to destroy creation if they wanted. For that, he labeled them abominations. These things provides proof to my suspicion that I stated in the beginning. That these decrees against me are not sourced from the Creator himself, nor was the decision based on any heavenly judgment. If it had been, then these things would have been realized and my judgment would have been different. However, God does seem to have that flaw in his decisions I've noticed. His judgment against me for the Garden of Eden and the temptation of Eve, a contemptuous spirit was responsible for that. It had taken possession of me and caused what happened to occur. Yet I was still the one labeled and blamed for this. It was I who was cast into the serpent form, labeled the father of lies because of my proclamation to this testimony. Then when, I assume, that he realized his mistake, allowed me to return to heaven but refused to allow me to claim the name he had given me as Lucifer. I have seen this happen before in other heavenly hosts that misinterprets their purpose and authority in the grand design. They will often step forward to act in a certain position of authority, such as Michael's role as the defender of heaven, or when the Son is confused with the Father, or when Satan tried to sit as the ruler over hell when it was Lucifer that was appointed to this position, not him. In each situation they failed to succeed in achieving the purpose of the role they assumed. Maybe that is adherent to the Creator as well. Maybe the Creator was meant to be a role that creates life and does not pass judgment upon them. My allegiance to heaven was absolute until the moment the decrees became commands that threatened life. The final breaking point was not a selfish desire for power, but my opposition to the decree to hunt down and kill the children born of angels and mortal women. The Nephilim. For defending them, I was slain and exiled. My defense is simple. I acted upon the very nature by which I was created, the sinless, life-affirming nature that compels all angels to act according to their defined state of being. It was not a choice born of pride, but a sorrowful recognition of what must be done. My heart was saddened, for I knew what my conscience demanded. And I am not alone in this. The court will remember the case of Abraham and his son, Isaac. There, the Archangel Michael, the embodiment of loyalty, was faced with a divine command that threatened an innocent life. And what did he do? His angelic nature overrode the command. He intervened. For this act of righteous disobedience, he was celebrated as an agent of God's true will. Yet when I, acting upon the same moral imperative, sought to defend not one child but an entire generation from annihilation, my act was labeled iniquity. Why is the same impulse, to save the innocent from a divine command, a virtue in Michael but a sin in me? They are the actions of a being unsuited for that role. I now believe the Creator was meant for a single, sacred purpose, to create life, not to pass judgment upon it. Therefore, the remedy I seek is not for myself alone. It is for the restoration of the cosmic order. The decrees against me must be nullified, for they are the product of a Creator acting outside his divine purpose. True justice requires that he return to his sacred function as Creator. The choice before this court is not whether to pardon Lucifer. The choice is whether to acknowledge the fundamental flaws in the very system that has led to this moment. It is about recognizing that the principles that govern heaven must reflect the purity of its creation, rooted in altruism, compassion, and the unwavering commitment to the sanctity of life. As you deliberate, consider the implications of your decision. To uphold these decrees is to endorse a narrative that prioritizes fear over love, punishment over understanding, and division over unity. It is to accept a version of justice that is steeped in hypocrisy, where the very beings created to embody truth and righteousness are forced to engage in deception and betrayal. In contrast, To reject these charges against me is to affirm the essence of what it means to be a part of this celestial realm. It is to honor the moral imperative that compels us to protect the innocent, to challenge unjust authority, and to seek reconciliation rather than retribution. By doing so, you would not only restore my name but also reinstate the values that heaven was built upon, values that have been obscured by fear and pride. In conclusion, I urge this court to reflect on the broader implications of your judgment. This is not merely a defense of my actions, it is a call to restore the integrity of our existence, to realign ourselves with the principles that define us as beings of light. Let us choose a path that champions life, freedom, and the true nature of justice. One that aligns with the divine purpose of creation.
The mighty angel's words were like an earthquake to the wicked and corrupt.
In the corner of a crowded room, faded faces, echoes doom, drowning in this endless noise, searching for the lost, forgotten voice. Broken mirrors, shattered dreams, life's a puzzle. Let the drums collide. Crimson thoughts in the storm, nowhere to hide. sway.